Build the most dangerous Lego tank to destroy the military base, pass the test trail and hit all the targets. In this video, I will build and test working Lego tanks, starting from the smallest one with minimal functionality to a real giant with a truly destructive weapon. Let's get started soon. Let's start as usual with small. What should a tank be able to do? Of course, to drive and shoot. With the minimum number of parts, most likely we will be able to realize only one function, but it will be enough at this stage. For a miniature tank, it can be especially not to invent a weapon and take a ready-made Lego shooter. In my case, it will be this variant, which fires Lego plates one by one. Let's make imitation caterpillars and attach the cannon to the base. There, the smallest working tank is ready. He can hit targets in front of him if you pull the trigger.
Nice.
The minifigure already can't resist the power of this tank. But what if you add some protection to the minifigure, like this shield? And yes, it was effective. The minifigure successfully repelled the attack of the mini-tank. Well, I need a slightly bigger version, as a weapon will be a Lego shooter, which is a little more powerful than the previous version. This time, I'll use more parts. From the shot, the defenseless minifigure split into two parts, but with a shield such as a tank, they also cannot cope. So we need a higher level weapon. It will be this spring-loaded shooter. With it, I decided to build a tank, which is already able to move and, as befits a tank, do it on tracked treads. I took the smallest version of the tracks, which offers Lego. I ended up with a chassis like this. Lego's electronics won't fit here to make this tank move on its own, so I decided to try to build a rubber motor that could move the tank after charging. But I didn't succeed in creating an adequately working version. The rubber band unwound quickly and the tracks moved jerkily. But if you remove the rubber band, the tank can be moved manually by spinning the rear gear that was previously used to wind the rubber band. To activate the cannon, you have to push the back end of the dart inserted in the spring cannon. This tank is already capable of hitting a figure even with a shield. And what about the defense in the form of a brick wall? A cannon like this can handle even that. Well, the new task before the tank will be to hit many targets at once. However, for this tank, it turned out to be an impossible task because its cannon has only one charge. Well, it's time to take it to the next level. This time I want to create a tank that will move independently thanks to electronics and motors. The first thing I did was to create a chassis with these tracks. As you can see, everything works perfectly, which means it's time to start creating the weapon. There is no ready-made Lego solution because I want to create a multi-shot semi-automatic cannon. The easiest solution would be to build a rubber band gun. Rubber bands will be both projectiles and part of the firing mechanism. This is what I got in the end. A simple mechanism which is based on a large gear wheel. Let's decorate the tank with standard Lego parts to give the tank an appearance. And finally, it's test time. How will it handle a small platoon of minifigures? As you can see, all the figures are successfully defeated. This tank can shoot, but how about overcoming obstacles? Because this tank already has a full working caterpillar chassis. How will it show itself in action? We need to test it. To do this, I decided to prepare a number of tests, which are located on the path of the labyrinth. Will our tank be able to pass all the tests and get out of the maze? Now let's see. The tank begins its journey. The obstacles in the form of rails are easily passed. The plate filled with Lego barrels also did not become a problem. But now, most likely, there will be problems because around the corner the tank is waiting for a whole forest of Lego plants. Hardly breaking through the plastic bushes and trees, the tank still manages to get to the next stage. Here are already quite large growths of Lego barrels and cones, which imitates a rather hard rocky ground. It was quite difficult because the tracks of the tank are small and it is hard for them to get a grip on such heterogeneous pillars of Lego parts. But still, the tactic of going straight ahead worked and the tank managed to move forward. This time, you need to pass the ramp, at the end of which stands a whole Lego car. The power of the tank is enough to overturn the car and move it out of the way. But there is a whole crowd of figures waiting for him. But the tank doesn't care and moves on. And again the ramps, but at a steeper angle. Whether the tank has the power to overcome them, let's see. It was quite difficult, but the tank still managed to cross, although it seems that this was the limit of its capabilities. The next fences have an even steeper angle, and this time the small tank is not able to pass this test as well as the next one. The tank was able to pass 7 out of 9 tests. I consider it a good result. Let's return to the weapon test.
Sigma, Sigma boy, Sigma boy, Sigma.
The new test showed a number of shortcomings of this tank, namely the power of the rubber bands and the lack of aiming system rather limits the radius of impact of the tank, and that's a sign that it's time to move on to the next version of the Lego tank, a more powerful and passable one. The first thing I did was to create a chassis with tracks like these. This will be a strong base that must withstand the new weapon mechanism with elements of the aiming system. The chassis have a shock absorption system, which will allow it to overcome difficult obstacles. The weapon for this tank I made as follows. The cannon has a magazine that is loaded with triple Technic beams. The last stage before the test will be to work on the appearance. Now, finally, another tank is ready. It looks really cool. In addition to impressive tracks and powerful weapon, it has a rotating turret, which allows you to aim more accurately. Let's check how it hits the target. Here is such a building guarded by military men, will be our target. As you can see, the figures didn't even stand a chance against this fighting machine. A whole group of figures stood in the way of the tank, but for him, it's not a problem. The tank shoots well, but what about overcoming obstacles? Let the tank try to pass the familiar obstacle course. For such a track technique, as if there are no obstacles at all, the tank very quickly passes all stages compared to the previous model. What a pity minifigures, which were in his way. And now our tank has already reached the obstacles that were insurmountable for the previous model, but it seems that they are no longer so. And here is the last obstacle in the form of Lego rocks. The tank does not just overcome them, it compares them to the ground. And there's the finish line. The tank has passed all the tests. It looks like it's ready to take on an entire military base. Keeping its distance, the tank starts firing, breaking through the figure's defenses. Dozens of plastic pieces fly out of the Lego tank's barrel. After all the shells are over, the tank goes for a frontal attack. Lego fortifications crumble under its tracks, and the military base literally crumbles before your eyes. This is an absolute victory of a fighting machine. However, I decided not to stop there and create a real Lego monster, a tank that can destroy anything. For this version, I focused on creating a destructive cannon that would surpass all the previous ones. I managed to build an unusual multi-charger that fires large Lego projectiles. For comparison, they are larger than the first two tanks we made in this video. The mechanism of the weapon works like this. Two powerful buggy motors spin and push the projectile between the wheels, giving it incredible speed and destructive potential. Because of their size and weight, the tracks are no longer suitable, so I chose a wheeled base with a reinforced frame to withstand the recoil from the weapon. Having finished with the appearance, I immediately started testing. This tank doesn't just hit minifigures, it destroys entire Lego buildings. This proves its superiority. Its shells can penetrate any fortification. Due to the wheelbase, the tank moves rather sharply on a flat surface, but it is hard to overcome obstacles. But it has a trump card. Why overcome something if it can be destroyed? This tank can even destroy a huge Skibidi toilet. Capturing a military base becomes a formality for this monster. And in a head-on collision, its weight and power turn obstacles into ruins. The entire defensive perimeter is destroyed in a matter of minutes, and the base is simply compared to the ground. This tank really deserves the title of Lego Monster. This concludes our tank review. Write in the comments which tank you liked the most. If you liked the video, put a like, subscribe to the channel, and click on the bell to not miss new experiments. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.